Good morning, dear students. Welcome to our English class. Today we are going to learn a new lesson in English literature, The Inchcape Rock by Robert Southey. Robert Southey was an English poet of the Romantic school. He was also one of the so-called Lake Poets and poet laureate for 30 years from 1813 to his death in 1843. And by profession, he was a prolific letter writer, literary scholar, essay writer, historian, and a biographer. And most of his biographies include the life and works of such personalities as John Bunyan, John Wesley, William Cowper, Oliver Cromwell, and Horatio Nelson. This is all about the author. Now let's go through the idea of the poem. The Inchcape Rock by Robert Southey is a ballad. Ballad means a song or a poem that tells a story or a slow love song that tells us about the legends of the Inchcape Rock, a rock in the North Sea about 18 kilometers off the east coast of the Angus, Scotland. Then the story is about the good abbot of the Aberbrothock and the devilish Sir Ralph the Rover. The abbot achieved the great feat of installing the bell on the dangerous Inchcape Rock that had previously caused many shipwrecks. His bell rang during the storms and issued an alert for the passing ship. So, the seamen knew where the rock is and could avoid the danger of an accident. They blessed the abbot for his good work. But it was the rover who felt jealous at the fame of the abbot and planned to cut down the bell from the Inchcape Rock. And so he died. This Ralph the Rover, who actually a sea pirate, so he needed to destroy the bell to accomplish his desire to rob more ships by putting them in danger. But finally, he himself was the victim of the Inchcape Rock. One day, his ship was left in the midst of storm, lost the direction and crashed against the rock. Thus the rover was punished for his sinful work. Here the poet Robert Southey delivers a message through the poem, "As you sow, so shall you reap," which means we will be punishable by our sinful works. So let's go through our poem. Look at the first stanza. No stir in the air, no stir in the sea. The ship was still as she could be. Her sails from heaven received no motion. Her knees were steady in the ocean. So in the first stanza, the poet describes the calmness of the sea and sets the natural setting. The sea was calm and there was no movement in the air. That is why the ship stood still. The sails of the ship were not getting any thrust from the air and were erect. Its knees, which is metallic or wooden pieces that over support the whole structure of the ship, was also steady in the ocean, which means all were still in the ocean. Then the second stanza. Without either sign or sound of their shock, the waves flowed over the Inchcape Rock. So little they rose, so little they fell. They did not move the Inchcape bell. So the second stanza describes that the drowsy or the mild waves in the ocean flowed over the Inchcape Rock very smoothly. The movement was so slow that it could make the Inchcape bell ring. The waves were not rising up high to hide the dangerous Inchcape Rock and had no power to rock the bell. Therefore, the bell could not make any sound. Then the third stanza. The worthy abbot of Aberbrothock had placed that bell on the Inchcape Rock. On a buoy in the storm It floated and swung, and over the waves its warning rung. So the third stanza tells us about the bell. The good old abbot of Aberthrock positioned the Inchcape bell there on the Inchcape rock. During the storms, it floated on the bayou and fastened and rang widely, swung the high tides to alert everyone that the dangerous rock was there. The word abbot means the head monk in the monastery. The abbot of Aberthrock was a spiritual man, and he was knowing the danger posed by the submerged rock for the passing ship. A collision between the Nile and the rock could make the ship to sink. This intention was to warn the sailors about the possible collision. So he has positioned a large bell at the top of the rock. Then it could make sound when storms occurred. Look at the fourth stanza. When the rock was hit by the surge swell, the mariners heard the warning bell, and then they knew the perilous rock and blessed the abbot of Aberthrock. Okay, then the next lines. The sun in the heaven was shining gay, all things were joyful on the day. The seabirds screamed as they wheeled round, and there was joyance in their sound. So, in this stanza, the poet says that the atmosphere looks so cheerful. Generally or usually, what is happening before every disaster. In these lines, the poet tells us how the bell guided the mariners in the bad weather. The seamen could not see the rock as it stayed hidden under the high waves during the storms. But they could hear the ringing bell and went away from the perilous, means dangerous rock. So the bell was saved their lives. The seabirds were whirling over the sea and screaming to express their happiness, while they remained certain buoyancy in the step of the ship's men. Then the seafarers blessed the abbot for his good job. So we can see that before a disaster, the atmosphere looks so pleasant. Now let's go through the next lines. The buyer of the Inchcape bell was seen, a darker speck on the ocean green. Sir Ralph the rover walked his deck and fixed his eyes on the darker speck. So here in the sixth stanza, the poet has introduced Sir Ralph for the first time. So on that fine day, the buoy on the Inchcape rock was clearly visible, as it was blackish spot in the green ocean. Sir Ralph the rover went on to the deck of his ship and gazed at dark spot on the bayou. So the last line describes the captain of the ship, Sir Ralph Rover, stood on the deck of his vessel and at the dark spot of the bayou. Okay, so we have discussed the first 6 stanzas of the poem. Let's discuss the rest of the poem later. Now go through the poem and learn the word meanings.